database support, some of our system access and management work that we've been working on, and I threw a couple stuff on some hardware stuff because I know a lot of you on this call care about that. The presentation that I've put together, I sent this to John Rowe so he can go ahead and post this as well. So if you want to take a look at the slides and if you have questions, you can always feel free to get a hold of us. So first off, our roadmap, here we are in our normal, our IBMI roadmap continuum, where we're, in between a couple releases. Our 7.2 release just came out a year and a half ago now, or 2 years ago. We're working on our next release and our continual agile process of delivering TRs along the way. As many of you know, IBMI 6.1 just went out of service just a couple days ago as we continue to move forward on our roadmap. Okay, where am I going to be? I've got lots of exciting stuff going on here recently. Right now, like I said, I'm in Florida speaking at the Fall Common event, but I'm going to be getting ready to go to Europe here in a couple days. And I'll be at the Data 3 event in Stockholm. I'll be speaking in Norway, speaking at Common Denmark in Billund, and then I'll be over at the Common Edge event, or Common Technical University, whatever they decide to call it these days, in Cannes at the end of the month. So exciting times, getting to talk and speak to our IBMI community about all the great things that we're doing. Okay, application development. We have been on a path towards transformation, really, modernization, lots of different terms that you can use it over the past several releases, and this TR is no exception. So we're continuing to modernize our RPG language. We're continuing to transform it from a language which was created solely for the punch card to a language that was created for today's modern business developer. And this is been an amazing transformation that we've been undergoing, and we've got the next delivery in that continuum. So our RPG language, it's very modern. It has all the capabilities that you'd expect in a modern language. Lots of interoperability. Readability work that we've been doing has been huge. We've done a ton of work to make the language look and feel as expected to the developer of today, not the developer of 30 years ago. So we've really transformed that with our free-form support. We continue to, listen to our developers, add in new functionality to meet the needs that they need as we continue to write applications today. Well, the latest installment in this continuum, and one of the things that I've heard from many customers after we started delivering freeform was, when are you going to remove the 80-column restriction? Well, now. So that's our latest installment on this continuum, is coming out here in a couple weeks. 8 to 80 column restriction that's been an RPG since its inception. Which, if you think about it, it was there because of the punch card. In the punch card, the punch card had a fixed size, and you needed to be able to identify things easier on that punch card. And, well, we don't need those anymore, so let's get rid of that. And so with this latest update, you'll no longer have those restrictions. And this includes the SQL preprocessor as well. So you can have truly unlimited length in your, to the right, on your ROM code. So formatting becomes a much easier proposition. You no longer have to break lines of code in weird random spots to make it line up on your page. Really allows you to code in a very normal manner. Additionally, it really makes life a whole lot easier for those that want to store their code in an IFS type directory. So you no longer have to worry about formatting and cutting things off at certain spots along the way. So that's an exciting update as well. So to go along with that, we continue to update our tooling, right? The IBMI development tooling, right? Our old support, our SEU support, that's our tried and true hammer, that was last updated about the same time the hammer was last updated. It's been a long time. We have our rational developer for I. We continue to update that set of tooling as well to meet the needs of the developer of today. And that includes the really cool thing about RDI. It does allow you to update all levels of your RPG. Even if you're still using older style RPG, it supports the RPG 36 and RPG 2 is just as equally as well as it does the freeform. Now, obviously, we've done a lot of work in this developer, in this development environment, to allow you to update your RPG for freeform. It allows you to do a great color coding. It does all sorts of indentations for you and formatting to make it much easier to deal with. Really, what it's doing, it's really about saving you time. It's about improving your productivity. It's doing some of that formatting work for you so that you don't have to waste your time on it. It takes care of that. It allows you to focus on your business logic. It allows you to write higher quality code because it allows you to find what you're looking for easier. We've just added in a new 5250 emulator built right into this IDE, so you no longer have to go get up a new window. You don't have to leave. Everything you need built right into this development environment, as well as that 80 to 80 column restriction. You know, that's now been removed, so that's also built into this new support. Now, RDI version 9.5, that actually is available as of now. That came out like about a week and a half ago is when that came out. And so this support you can go ahead and start taking advantage of now. And the latest RPG code will be coming out here very soon. Very excited about these updates in our RPG and rational developer for I support. Now, one of the things that we also did a significant improvement on within RDI is our code coverage. The code coverage support has been there for another previous release or so, but the big thing that we did was we made some major improvements to the performance of it. Now, code coverage is one of those, I think it's way cool technology, where if you are writing code and you write a program and you go to test your program, do you know that the test case that you created actually tests the code that you just wrote? Can you prove that? Well, code coverage allows you to do exactly that. Prove that what you just tested truly tested the code that you wanted to. And there's different reports that allow you to see how much of a particular program and module was executed as a result of a particular test case, and I can even narrow that down into an actual line-by-line comparison, and I can see exactly which line of code was or wasn't executed by a particular test case. So really quite cool stuff. And there's some additional major enhancements that were added in this space, again, within our latest version 9.5. So switching gears for a minute, some of the other new stuff that we did. Last year, about 6 months ago, we delivered our REST-based integrated web services runtime engine. We've had a SOAP-based engine for many, many years. I think it was 2009 when we first delivered that runtime engine. Very popular, widely used by many of our customers. But the world of web services continues to evolve, and the world is no longer only SOAP. REST is certainly becoming a far more popular format entity. So we delivered REST about sometime about 6 months ago last year. We delivered that. Well, one of the things as we delivered that, people started to leverage it, and we knew we had a couple limitations in the initial delivery, and so this release of our web services support had a whole bunch of updates that were added to clean up some of the nuances and limitations and some of the things that you, our customers, have told us that, hey, could you make this work like this? It would be a whole lot better for me. Oh, that makes sense. So we delivered that. So we got a whole bunch of new entities that were added, including the one that I'm probably most excited about is right there at the bottom of the screen, the ability for us to create a web service based on a Java application. So pretty exciting new support that we added there. All of our details for that can be found on our Integrated Web Services product page. This support is being announced today, but it's actually already available and part of our latest HCPTF group. The world of open source. This is, as we continue talking about transforming our IBM system and meeting the needs of the modern business developer, well, this is where one of the things that we've been focused on is developing and delivering the necessary environments and ecosystems in the open source community that are needed in today's world. So, we created in December of just this past year, so about 8 months ago, we delivered a new product. That was our 57 OPS product. And that product is strictly a way for IBM to deliver some of these open source components. The first one we delivered was our Node.js support that came out in December. And we're on the path of delivering new things as well, and we'll cover some of those in this open source space. One of the things that we've really focused on within our open source delivery is not just delivering Python, not just delivering Node. Some of those entities, they've been around for a while. You've been able to do Python on IBM I for quite some time. If you went out to some open source website and grabbed it and dropped it onto I, maybe I did a little bit of compiling or extra work to make it play right. That's been around for a while. But we've wanted it to make it integrated. We wanted to make it work and wanted to make it work well. So a couple of things that we've been focused on is we've created this fast CGI connection, which allows you to leverage the HTTP server on I, tunnel into your open source code that you want to leverage, and do that in a fast and safe, reliable manner. We've also obviously felt it's very important that you need to be able to access your IBM I data. So just because I'm writing a Python application, that's all well and fine to have it run on I, but if I can't access my native ILE data, it doesn't do me a lot of good. So we've created some little tools to help allow you to access both your DB2 data as well as your ILE object data very quickly and easily on your IBM I machine. So those are some of the integrated components that we've put out built into each of these. So like I said, our Node.js support, that came out in December, so that's not brand new for this release, but exciting new ways, another language to allow you to do highly interactive and asynchronous type applications. One of the ones that people have asked about for a long time is Python. It's an incredibly popular scripting language, especially within this open source environment. It's widely used, and the funny thing was, in order for us to deliver Node.js, we actually had to have Python running, because Python was used for us to both build and deploy and do some of that work that we needed to do to deliver the Node work. So it was kind of one of those, well, since we had to deliver or get Python running for Node, well, maybe we should deliver it. And so that was one of the reasons that this was been able to deliver so quickly. This came out in June of this year. The next installment that we'll be working on is our GCC compiler, the GNU compiler collection. The IBM IPS environment has had a C compiler. It's been there forever, the XLC compiler. It actually works incredibly well. It's created specifically for the Power processor, and if you're writing native C code and running it on I, it's obviously the best choice, because that's what's going to allow you that code to work at an optimal speed. But in the open source world, the compiler that's actually leveraged within that world is the GCC compiler. And so if you're trying to take code that was designed for GCC and compile it to XLC, well, sometimes doesn't play as nicely as we like it to. And so by putting GCC out there and making that available, we're now simplifying that process both for us, IBM, as well as you. If you've got additional open source packages that you want to leverage, this GCC environment will make the process of putting those on IBMI significantly simpler. So in addition to this compiler that we've delivered, the GCC environment includes a lot of other components that are normal, that are needed, that are used within this world. This screen with all the different packages that are out there. There's things like Git and curl and bash and Z and zip and Perl, Zed, Git. This, like I said, there's about 60 of them here. So really, we're very excited about this. We've been working on this on a beta with a couple people for a while, and so we think we have a pretty solid set. This is something that will continue to evolve and change on a regular basis, as is normal within the open source world. The open source world is not something that's very stagnant, and so I don't expect this to be as well. The scripts to generate and build this environment for you will be delivered in our option 3 of OPS here in a couple of weeks. So the open source space, we continue to evolve that, and we're rather excited about the different ways that our IBMI community is starting to leverage these technologies. Our Zen server, Zen still remains our premier partner within this open source world. The most popular open source in the ecosystem on our box is our PHP offering. We've got hundreds of customers today that are leveraging PHP on I for their front end, are having Zen work with us has been an incredibly beneficial arrangement. They are the premier provider of PHP runtime, and they've got their latest version 8 coming out here very soon. I'm not certain, it may very well be out already. And we're going in and we're updating our manufacturing install. So as you get new machines, you'll be getting this latest updated version, which includes a whole bunch of performance updates to make it run faster and better, as well as, they've gone through and cleaned up and redone how things look within their management tools. They have Z-Ray, which is a fantastic tool for debugging your PHP application. And then the one that my PHP folks have been asking for basically forever is the ability to run parallel with older versions of PHP. So I no longer have to have an all or nothing approach. I can have my existing PHP server out there. I can put on the new one, and I can bring things up side by side and transition to things in a more normal manner. So we're really excited about this new support, and continue to enjoy our relationship with Zen. Okay, another update that we've got within our world of application development. This one here is specific to IBMI 7.2 only. Everything else that I've talked about is on both 7.1 and 7.2, so both of the TRs will be containing these updates. But this one here is centric to our 7.2 release, and that has to do with the fact that the Apache server that's in 7.1 is based on the 2.2 version of Apache, and the version that's in 7.2 is based on Apache 2.4. Unfortunately, we can't update major versions of Apache unless we go across a release boundary. And that's really to protect you, is the reason for that. The world of Apache is not the world of IBMI. You know, IBMI is all about backwards and forwards compatibility forever and ever, amen. Apache's not quite so nice about those things. And so, unfortunately, when we made the move from 2.2 of Apache to 2.4, there were some major changes that were needed to happen, and some applications could be broken. So we're very careful of never doing that within a release. And so Apache 2.4, that's the version of Apache that's in the 7.2, and we've just updated from the 2.4.2 release to the 2.4.12 version of Apache. So we're on a basically the latest version of Apache that's out there. There's a bunch of new modules that were added to Apache since we first delivered this in the 7.2 release. And so those have been added, a number of new directives that were added to improve the Apache interface and web serving for customers. We added support for independent ASPs, for pre-start jobs. But the really biggie is something called WebSockets. This is one of those items that my open source friends have been asking me for probably about a year and a half now, and it's going to be available later this fall when we get this latest Apache support out there. What is a WebSocket? It's really a cool technology that was developed fairly recently in the HTML5 and JavaScript interfaces, basically allowing for you to move away from the normal HTTP request-response protocol and allow you to establish a connection from your browser client to your server, and then to be able to have that open socket to pass back information. And it really significantly improves your performance as well as the difficulty, especially in today's secure world, of having to renegotiate the firewall for every single request and response that comes through. You can negotiate the firewall, get through, provide all that necessary connectivity that you need to go through one time. Once you have that established, now you can start to leverage that pipe to pass things back and forth. So exciting support to really improve the performance and experience of the web interaction between that client and the IBMI web server. So we're excited about this particular support. Our world of Java, we continue to stay very current. Whatever is going on in the industry within Java, it's available on IBMI, which also means that the IBMI needs to continue to follow what the industry is doing in this space. Well, the world in the industry, the world of Java, our article has made statements that if you want to be compliant, you need to be on the most current level. Well, that's Java 8. And they actually have done away with support completely for things like Java 5 and Java 1.4.2. And so that is something that we are also going to be doing, as we're going to be unavailable to continue to make updates to these older versions of Java going forward, even in our IBMI 7.1 release. We just don't have the ability to create even security patches for some of these things as we go forward. So support for Java 5, 1.4.2, if you're running on these older versions of Java, it's really time to consider moving into one of the newer versions. And this is going to be a true statement. If you're running on IBMI 6.1 and you're under extended support, that's great. You need to be running on Java 6. We're just not going to be able to provide patches for these older versions, and that's an industry statement. So something to be aware of there. Our Red Book, you're aware about a year and a half ago, or just over about a year and a half ago, we delivered a modernization Red Book. It's been incredibly well received. We've been really excited. I've been spending a ton of time this past year talking to customers about modernization. And a lot of that's been because of this book that we've been updated. Well, because of the success we had with creating and getting this Red Book out, I wanted to take and start to focus on some of our other more popular Red Books. And so I started looking around to figure out, well, what are the most popular Red Books that we still have today? Well, come to find out, the most popular Redbook that we own is our SQL Redbook. But it was updated in 2006. Well, the content that's in there is still very valid. A lot of it's SQL. But the reality is, since 2006, we have delivered just a boatload of incredible new functionality in the SQL world. And so there's all these things that are missing. So we've undertaken initiatives leveraging some of our experts in our lab services database center of excellence team that go around and help teach this stuff to our customers and help our customers really learn and use SQL on IBM. We've undertaken a project to update this book. And so this new book they're heads down working on it as we speak, and we're looking to get a draft version of that available early this year yet, or later this year yet, sometime in fourth Q. Hopefully we'll have that available shortly after that, sometime in the beginning of the year. Now, one of our other more popular books has got even a sadder story to tell. The other book that's incredibly popular is The Sorcerer's Guide for RPG. It kind of was crazy when I looked at the date and realized it was 2000 that it was last updated. That's a shame. Well, the exciting part is we've done so much stuff to retransform this language. Well, I went and started working to see if I could get a project approved, and last week I got that project approved. And so we're putting together a team right now that's going to be tackling this incredibly popular book and redoing it. The basics that are in that book, again, a lot of that's good stuff, but there's been so much that we've done to the RPG language. And so we're going to be updating that book to represent the very latest in RPG. And so it'll now become the Sorcerer's Guide to Modern System Development. So we're really excited about that, and you can look for that book to be available sometime early next year. So database. Switching gears to one of my colleagues' favorite topics. My friend Scott sits pretty right next to me, and he's the architect for database. And so I'm going to do what he would normally say is a pretty poor job at describing database topics. I don't play in database, that's his problem. But nonetheless, database is an important area within modern application development. So we've had a continual investment in DB2. We've been rolling out, and this slide kind of gives you just the summary highlights of some of the important items that have been delivered over the past several releases. And you can see we've done a ton. There's been a continual and regular investment. People ask, well, are you guys investing in IBM? Well, DB2 is core of IBM, and you can see from here we continue to make major investments within the core of our platform, delivering all sorts of cool new things. Even older releases like 7.1, we're delivering all sorts of new functionality. So if you look at our timeline continuum, this slide is an important slide you can take a look at later on. It kind of tells you what database group release you need to be at in order to take advantage of some of these different technologies on this technology continuum. And so if you want to take advantage of something like the create replace tables, well, that tells you need to be on the database group that was there for the TR9 or TR1 for 7.2. That's about the time frame that came out, and that's the group PTFs that are listed there that you need to be at. And so important area for you to understand where you at the PTFs, the group PTFs that are on your machines, as to when you can start taking advantage of some of these cool technologies. So the latest support that just came out, since I mentioned create a replace table, just take a step back on that one for just a second, because I think this is kind of cool. Another question that we get asked all the time is, well, is IBM current compared to other DB2s or other databases that are out there? Well, the create and replace table functionality we're the only DB2 that has that. None of the other DB2s have implemented that. So we're the first one. We're number one for delivering that. Now, the other DB2 in the families, they'll be working on delivering that sometime in the upcoming future, but they haven't delivered that one yet. That was one of the ones that we felt was important to our I community, and we went out and developed that technology, and now the rest of the family will take the lead from what we've delivered. So kind of exciting to be the first, and that happens on a regular basis. We just don't always stand up and yell about it. So some of the things in this particular TR, there's a number of new enhancements that have been delivered within our database support to really give you the ability to write your applications easier and more accurately, faster, and with functionality that you may expect from other databases in the industry. So this first one is kind of cool. Limit and offset. Limit and offset is a functionality that's been in MySQL for ages and ages, but it's not part of the SQL standard. So it's something that our customers have asked us about for years because it's kind of cool and has a useful purpose, but we never delivered it because it wasn't an SQL standard. Well, we finally decided, well, okay, enough's enough. This has got some very useful value, and so we're going to deliver it for DB2. So the DB2 family recently decided to add the support for it, and so we stepped right up and we decided to add that as well. So the limit and offset, again, very popular, but again, it's not necessarily standard, but has a cool use case that certainly makes things pretty easy when you're trying to fetch and get access to your support. Now you can do this other ways today, but if you look at this example here, I'm going to connect. I want to fetch 5 rows, and so I'm going to get those 5 rows. Well, I want to do another fetch of rows. Well, now I can specify what my offset is going to be. Well, I want to start at row 5, and I want to get another 5 different rows, and so I'll go ahead and connect and grab the next 5 rows. And so I don't need to necessarily keep track of where I'm at going along on this process. I can just go ahead and specify my limit and offset, and away I go. So I'm going to connect again. I'm going to connect, and I want to get the next 5, and so I update my offset and grab my limit, and I'm going to grab my next pages of data. So again, functionality that's been available in other databases, highly popular. Makes sense. We decided to add that to our DB2 for I family of products as well. Some of the other things that we've added, well, here's another example about accessing stuff through your offset and limit. They've also added remote 3-part name support on the associate locator. I'm not going to cover this in any detail because I'm not a database guy on this one, but I certainly wanted to leave this in for you DB2 guys that are out there, so you can go ahead and take a look at this and kind of review. If you want more details on this and some of the other database topics that are out there, the IBM Developer Works page, that has been updated. Scott and I have been trading same times. He's sitting in a hotel in Orlando at the moment, getting ready to spend the day speaking at the IBM Edge event that's going on in Orlando, and I'm down here in Fort Lauderdale at Common, and we've been working from our hotels all weekend to get the latest content out in Developer Works so that you can get the latest information. So if you go out to IBM Developer Works, you can go to our TR3 and TR11 landing pages, and you can get all the details on these particular new features. Also added the ability to do flexible views. Traditionally, when you create a view that are based on a query, that view is locked in at creation time. Well, now views that have a where clause, we're going to allow you to create some flexibility within there. So with the latest DB2 group, you'll be able to take views that are eligible. You'll be able to do inserts on them, updates, and make them deletable, and be able to make some modifications to those views after create time. So again, another one of those key features and functions that has been asked for from our user community, and we've been able to deliver that. A bunch of performance updates. Some of you may know we work actually very closely with the SAP team. SAP is an incredibly popular software package that runs incredibly well on our IBM I platform, and so we work with SAP very closely. We actually have some folks from IBM that actually sit with the SAP guys. We have a team in Rochester that interacts with them on a daily basis, continuing to make certain that we can help them to leverage the technology that we deliver to its fullest. But there are times where they are trying to accomplish things, and we need to then respond and add different technologies into the operating system, into the database, to help them perform and help them to leverage our system to its fullest capabilities. And so this is one of those examples here where we've done some enhancements to take advantage of the SQL packages that are created specifically for our SAP client in particular. So the big one that we did was our AVI, which are encoded vector index technologies. The key huge performance improvements were added there to help make that work a whole lot better, in particular with our SAP folks. To improve that benchmark, you can see our SAP benchmark was improved by 20% with this simple little change. So we're rather excited about that and what that brings for our SAP community on I. Governance. Do you know what's going on your system? Do you need to prove? Do you need to have an audit trail? We know we have security folks that work on our machines, and they're people that we truly trust. But when it comes to security compliance, you need to have audit capabilities. You need to have proof that even the trusted folks are doing the right thing. And that's what Guardian comes into play. Guardian with a fantastic support, version 10 GA late here in August. And Guardian has a number of cool updates that were added to help and monitor things within IBM I as well. Now, Guardian's been supported for IBM I for a while now, but we continue to work with them very closely to help drive the requirements from a security DB2 for I perspective back up into the Guardian product so that it works just as well with the other DB2 family of products as it does for IBM I. And so you can see we added a number of new enhancements into the Guardian product, support for multiple policies, IBM I support for the not equal operators, cryptic collection communications, load balancing, failover, all to make certain that we have the top tool in the industry for compliance and auditing for our customers that need to have that key level of data. Now, one of the other areas that we've focused a lot on for the last several TRs is how do you get access to your data? And there's a new technology that we've been working on recently, and we'll spend a little bit of time on this one here. So if I needed to access some core system information, we've got APIs. We have CL commands. We've had them there since the inception of the machine. And so if I want to get information about a user profile, no problem. I can call a CL command. I can call the Q USL user API that's out there, write some code, call the API, process that data, all with just 50 or 60 lines of code to make that happen. Well, not a problem. It works fine. It's worked well for years. But, there might be a better way. And so we've been creating something called SQL services over the past several TRs. These are super exciting. They allow you, with a single line of code, call, access, process, and manipulate the data that's returned. That's what SQL is all about. SQL is all about being able to manipulate, to be able to process the data that's returned, being able to very simply filter, find, sort, and rearrange to get at what you want incredibly quickly, incredibly easily. So our latest delivery of services, and I would say this particular release has been a huge services release. We actually were able to focus on this quite a bit. We delivered a whole new list of cool things that allows you to get at additional information on your system. So we delivered the ability to get at your locking information. We took work object lock and display process lock or record lock, and we've provided SQL services to allow you to get at all of that locking information, and now you can use the power of SQL to sort through that pile of information that you get back to be able to find what you want. We also delivered some of our system status and system activity support. You know, your pooling information, your system status, so work sys status and work sys act. I can now get the content of those commands through an SQL service. Likewise, licensing information. If I'm in some form of a database type of process, or I'm in an RPG program, and before I can actually go process and call something, I need to find out if this user's actually got the proper licensing. I can just use a simple SQL statement to go find out if the licensing information is properly up to date before I try to go ahead and execute something. Output queues. If I want to find things where I can work output queues and I can search through and filter, this one's huge because, you know, how much data is in an output queue and in a spool file? Well, now I can go and easily find some of this information and search for that. Media library status. Get all the information that's available today in NetStat, have that all available through an SQL service. So we're really excited about these. As we go through, you can see we've delivered piles and piles of SQL services, and you can see the different timelines on this continuum where we've been delivering them. If you want to get the list of all of them, they're all out on our DB2, actually they're all out on our IBM Developer Works page. I've got the short URL listed there. That link will take you directly to our SQL services page that lists each and every SQL service that we've been working on, and what PTF groups you need to be able to be at in order to start to leverage these different things in your applications. So the next boatload of slides that I have, I'm not going to really spend much time on, but I put them in here mostly for your reference, so that you have a choice. You can either go to our Developer Works page, or you can take a look at this presentation, and you can see an example of what we're talking about for each of these particular services. This one here is one of the services that we added very late in the last TR, was the ability to actually go and, using a service, go get the list of PTFs from the IBM Fix Central location, so that I can use that to compare the differences between what's out in Fix Central and what's on my machine. So kind of a cool one. Here's an example of our record lock information. Again, here's our object lock information, media library info view, our work license information command, our output command, output queue command, as well as our user-defined tables for getting output queue entries, NetStat command and being able to get access to this information, since some of these commands don't have output queue support. They only had spool file support. So processing spool files is obviously much harder. So this is a much easier way to get at some of this data. Here's our NetStat interface, as well as our net route info. So lots of different things that are available through our services. Here's our memory pool example. A couple of those that are there is system status information. So lots of different new services that are available. Again, I put all these examples in here because I want to have this information available for you when you're ready to sit down and actually go start playing with it. So one of our other topics that I want to spend just a couple minutes talking about is we're in the process of making a transition when it comes to systems management and system access. We've been using our iAccess for Windows products for a very, very long time. It's been a one-size-fits-most, but that most is becoming less and less as we continue down the world of devices today. We are finding that more and more people are using devices, workstations that are something other than Windows, and that includes Mac, Linux, and especially mobile. And so, one of my responsibilities is to make certain that I have the tooling available for you, my customers, that you need under the devices that you need to use it on. And so we've decided we needed to take a step back so that we could have the right support available for our customers. And so we're going from the one size fits some to let's provide a number of solutions, and we have the right solution in more of a system agnostic manner, and use the right tool for the right purpose. And so we've got our Navigator, our iAccess Mobile, and our Access Client solutions, as well as our Application Runtime Expert products that are all fit into this strategy moving forward. And you'll see a lot more about this as we kind of go along. So some of the core issues that we've had in this space is Mac, mobile, and Linux. There's just nothing there. And then the other one, and this is the one that I always find truly amazing. I ask my customers, when was the last time you updated your Access for Windows support on all of the PCs in your user community? And the typical answer that I get is never. It was last updated when the user got a new machine. Well, that's not exactly the most compliant and secure way to go about doing things, and whether you realize it or not, there are security vulnerabilities that do exist within Windows applications, and so you're probably running in a little bit less than secure manner. And the reason that people don't update it is it's because it's a pain in the neck and it's very difficult. So we needed to come up with a better way to help get these solutions out, to make things that are device neutral, flexible, incredibly easy to install, whether you're a single user or if you have thousands of users in your enterprise. And so in April, we made an announcement that our iAccess for Windows product would not be supported on Windows 10, and it is not going to be. We're moving in a different direction here, and so if you need to have Windows 10 compliant software for accessing and managing your system, this is where our Access Client Solutions product comes into play. This is the latest product, runs everywhere. It's got some amazing features built into it. If you look at the emulator itself, the emulator that's in our ACS support is far superior to anything that was in our previous Windows version. Piles of new features that are available, even in the 5250 world. And probably one of the coolest things about this is it truly allows us to have a central system deployment. I can have a single version of the actual ACS runtime that can be leveraged by every single user in my ecosystem. So talk about a simple way to update. You update one spot, and every single workstation can take advantage of it, because I can run this tool from a network drive. I can run it from a thumb drive. I can run it virtually anywhere. And so really makes the process of getting this available and out to my customers incredibly simple, incredibly easy. So one of the things that we've added in the latest version that will be as part of this announcement is we've added a couple of wizards to help with the deployment process. When we were doing a Windows install, there was a number of things that happened because of that install process. Things like the file associations were created, some shortcuts were created on your desktop. You could easily do a couple other things along those lines. And so we've created some deployment wizards to help emulate that install process. There's no way that I want to get into the business of doing Windows install. I don't know if you've done very many Windows installs, but developing the Windows install is even worse. And so we don't want to do the actual install process, because that would take away our ability to run from anywhere. But these wizards here will help you deploy your support, whether you want to deploy it locally on an individual workstation, or if I want to do that deployment to some network drive, I can tell that to the wizard, and those connections will be created quickly for you easily, so that it's really simple to get a new workstation up to date and be able to continue to get the latest support available for machines within your network. Now, within these tooling, one of the biggest technologies that have been used by our database folks has been our Run SQL scripts support, and that was only available in the old Access for Windows. Well, we've been adding and working this fall to get some of these database tools built into our ACS products. We're happy to report that we've made great progress in this space. And so we've also been working to improve the connections between our web navigator and ACS to allow them to talk back and forth together in a seamless manner. And so in this page here, I've got my web navigator up, and I want to do some SQL performance analysis, which allows me to look at some of the large plan cache snapshots, cache plan event monitors, some of my SQL performance monitors, and look at some of that trace data that might be out there, which is very large quantities of data. Well, we actually launch directly from our web into our new ACS product to bring up our new SQL Performance Center, which then allows me to dig down and look at incredibly large quantities of data to be able to sort, filter, and find what I'm looking for within there. Additionally, our new Run SQL scripts. This is part of our latest version of ACS that will be out in December. All sorts of new features added in, color coding, line numbers. If you look at the bottom corner of the interface, you can see there's a stop button. So if I start running an SQL script and realize, oh God, that's going to be running for the next 6 hours, what do? Well, I can now go stop the dumb thing. If you will, something that you'd consider normal. You can do it now. So that's been added. So we're really excited about this new support. In addition, one of the things to look for that'll be out before the end of the month, one of the biggest problems with our ACS is you've always had to go to ESS in order to get access to that. That process is being removed. You will no longer need, it'll still be in ESS, but we're going to be adding it to our FTP site that you can link to off of our product web page. So we're going to make that whole process of being able to get access to this product incredibly simple. We've been working with our legal folks to get that done, and we finally were able to make that happen. And so you can look to see that website being updated within the next 4 weeks. So exciting stuff. Now, the last couple pages I put in, this is some of the more hardware-y kind of things that are out there. There's a number of other things. There were some BRMS updates that were also added. There's some support here for multipath tape enhancements that were added. We've got some additional tape and virtualization things that were done, hyperswap updates that were done. We've also got some support for the new 822 2U offering. I've got it included here as well as our new RAS store that will be coming out with the SW840 or whatever this is. So again, details about the hardware stuff to take a look at your leisure that are part of the announce that happened today. So very excited about this announce. You know, a lot of new content that was added as we continue to keep our IBM I system relevant and modern as a business machine for today and into the future. That's all I have today.
So,
John, I don't know if you have any additional comments.
Thank you very much, Tim. Yes, actually, we had two questions. In RPG, do you have to write free? Do you have to include that to exclude the column restrictions?
Yeah, there's a special keyword you'll need to put in, spot free or something like that. Once you specify that command in the first column, then everything that follows thereafter, you only need to specify it once for the whole program. Everything thereafter will be specified as free, and no column restrictions.
Good. And one from about SQL Explain. What about SQL Explain in IXS?
The Visual Explain stuff. Yeah, the Visual Explain stuff is something that we're working on. That's going to be the next thing that we'll deliver. I'm hoping to get that delivered sometime next year.
Okay, good. So once again, thank you very much, Tim, and good luck today. How many sessions do you have?
I have 4 more to go yet today.
4 more to go. And have a good day in Florida. Thank you very much for sharing this information for us.
Truly my pleasure.
And
I look forward to seeing you some in Europe.
PDF is already uploaded to the website, on the Common Europe website, where you have the information about this webcast as well. Okay, take care. See you in